Now new at noon, Colonna Shipyard executives revealed what they learned about the safety hazards related to the Southside connector being built by Southern Company and Virginia Natural Gas.
13 News Now reporter Evan Watson joins us live from the shipyard with those details. Evan.
Yes, it's here at the shipyard where Tom Godfrey, the president and CEO, is raising a lot of concerns today about potential safety, saying this is something that affects more than just the shipyard here, but this entire area, showing that it would be around in this area, that it would come through, that Virginia Natural Gas would build this. And we'll actually bring in President Godfrey here as he joins me right now. I want to ask you, you said earlier that this is kind of unforgivable, but the safety hazards is what you're most concerned about. Could you tell me about those safety concerns?
Absolutely. This is a 1,250 psi high pressure, high volume gas transmission line. When something goes wrong, when an accident happens, the consequences are huge. There's a fireball, there's ignition, there's an explosion. In some cases, a gas cloud can develop that's more than a mile wide. It can involve an area a quarter mile or as wide as 2 miles. In some cases, there will be no chance to escape. The pressure from the blast will knock things down. The heat will in itself cause fatalities and injuries for people that might be a half a mile away. And you don't have to be directly involved in the blaze to suffer great harm and great injury from this.
Now, you were saying that at this point you're not trying to stop the pipeline, but you'd like to see safety changes made. What are just a couple of those changes you'd like to see?
We think first and foremost, the operating pressure needs to be reduced to what a true distribution pipeline should be. And that would be 60 PSI up to 150 PSI. That's a normal distribution pipeline that would be good in a city situation. That's step number one. Step number two is they need to make some adjustments in locations, and that's a circumstantial situation. In some cases, it's only 3 foot away from harm's way. That's just way too risky. There can be safety shutoff valves, very, very, very important. In some cases, the pipeline needs to be shielded, maybe with another pipe, to protect it from injury and trauma from an outside force. Those are all good ideas.
And there are members of the community out here today sharing this concern as well. Coming up later this evening, we'll give you more information on what they'd like to see done here and also response from Virginia Natural Gas as well. Reporting live at Colonna Shipyard, Evan Watson for 13 News Now.